But the game in question is Humankind.
So I'm not going to lie. The name sounds vaguely familiar.
Okay.
Truly, I couldn't tell you what genre it is. What does it look like?
Yeah.
What's it about? Based on the name, is it about Zambos?
Zambos? No.
Damn. Okay, I was just thinking like Humankind. Well, what's the opposite of humans? Zombies.
Oh, I was trying to be like, I thought you meant the thing that that cleans ice on hockey rings.
No, not Zambonis.
Okay.
Zombies.
I was like, what? And then you said zombies. Okay, that makes so much more sense.
No, zombies.
But
Wait, so was I right after all?
no, it has nothing to do with zombies. What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Team Chat Podcast, a video game show. I am one of your hosts, Jerrett Wilson, joined to my right by Rachel Mogan.
Buongiorno, buongiorno, buongiorno.
Oh, keeping it
We're
up.
up to 3.
Number 3 for 2023.
Yeah,
Let's go.
So far, so good.
But we are here and excited to bring another episode of Team Chat Podcast, where we're going to talk about a very fun game that I've been playing recently. But then also, you know, just the normal
Possibly
fun.
talk about another game. We'll
That's
see
true.
how it goes.
Let's see.
I want to know how much Jerrett has to say about this game.
Yeah, it's a game that I started playing, and I was putting my notes, and I was like, this might be more of a first impressions. But then as I get into it, I was like, there's actually a lot more here to explain.
You were
compare and
unpacking it.
contrast.
Yeah.
You know? And so it might take a little bit more time than I'm expecting. So
Yes.
yeah, potentially 2 fun little reviews coming at you today. But, you know, where can you listen to Team Chat Podcast? You found this one episode, but where do you find the rest? Well, you can listen to us on podcast services around the World Wide Web on Thursday mornings when the new episodes release. You can also watch a video version of each episode over on our YouTube channel. Links for all that are in the description below. Also, you can check out our social media at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Join our Discord server where we have a lot of great conversations when we're not here recording the show. And finally, you can also support the show and help make it bigger and better by going to patreon.com/teamchatpodcast, just like Super Saiyan Ace, Elise F, Zach S, Mariah S, Susan M, James K, Michael B, Andrew M, Michael S, and Brandon W have done, where they've gone to support the show for as little as $1 a month. And in return, we're giving them cool perks like early access to the episodes before their general Thursday release and access to a private channel on our Discord server, the Rogues Gallery, as well as some custom emotes, emojis, whatnot. All that fun stuff. But if you can't do that, that's no big deal at all. We totally understand. So, you know, again, inflation, price of eggs, orange juice, all that stuff that's making it expensive these days. We totally understand.
Orange
so if you can't,
juice?
yeah, that's the next big one, apparently.
Huh.
I've been seeing that
Is
in the
that
news.
because that one, like, Simply Whatever, they got sued for having, like, toxic chemicals in their orange juice?
I don't know about that, if that's the reason. But apparently some, like, weather-related things, climate, all that jazz.
Yeah,
but anyway,
usual
so your Sunny D might be a little bit more expensive.
Sunny
lately.
D
So if
doesn't
you
have
can't-
real oranges in it. Don't be ridiculous. That's the
So-
fakest you can get.
But there are free ways that you can support the show, such as telling your friends, writing us a review, subscribing wherever you listen to or watch the show. All that helps get the word of Team Chat Podcast out to the masses, and we are eternally grateful and love each and every one of our viewers, listeners, and patrons alike.
You almost caught me off guard.
I caught you off guard
Yeah,
this
I wasn't
time.
quite ready.
I was kind of waiting for it to start the whole time, but it never did.
Mostly because I was taking a Snapchat of your little stormtrooper over there.
Oh, who's dead?
With the caption of "We stand a plank king." He's really killing it.
He fell over. He's in the perfect playing position. He's been holding it for days.
It looks very intentional. I just kind of thought that you were getting creative with them.
No, Birdie's tail sometimes causes casualties among the ranks
Hilarious.
right there. So
Well, he's going to have the most solid core you've ever seen in your life. Good
deflect
for him.
lightsabers with how hard that six-pack's going
He's
to be.
getting ready for Cal Kestis number 2.
Oh, man. I'm getting closer to, speaking of that, getting closer to finishing up God of War Ragnarok. I think I have about 5-ish of the main story missions left.
Nice.
But yeah, I was looking. I had to look. I was like, I need to know how much I have of this game left, or else I'm going to be playing this game until Jedi Survivor comes out. And I do think I really would like to at least, maybe not make it through the whole game again, but at least play some of Fallen Order again before Survivor
You know,
comes
that
out.
really just makes me think that I'm always doing save files wrong, because there are lots of people that make multiple save files at different stages of the game just in case they want to like go back and redo something specific.
How do you do it then?
I don't know how it's possible with like the newer games that autosave. I assume you just turn off autosave.
Okay.
And then have to like do it manually, but like with Resident Evil, for example, back in the day of save slots,
Right.
you would just save to a new slot, like anytime you had something. So I feel like I should be doing that more because there are lots of games that I want to go back to and play again, but I've replayed just the first chunk so many times.
Because
that
it's hard.
I should
Yeah.
really just have another chunk in the middle so that I can go back to Breath of the Wild and already have like 2
Right.
of the things done. But Breath
be
of
like,
the Wild doesn't
okay.
really work that way.
That's true.
Yeah, I guess it just depends on the game.
I
Anyways,
know that like some games like Horizon and God of War allow you to do a save slot.
Yeah, they do.
And then I feel like most big RPGs and stuff like that. So I usually don't though. I usually have just like one slot. And I just like constantly overwrite
Just
the save.
going for it.
I don't know. Because then it's gonna go crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Every time I feel like, ooh, this feels important, I might want to come back to it, I'm gonna be making a save, and then I'm gonna have a bajillion save files. And then in all honesty, am I really gonna go back to it?
maybe.
Maybe. But there's a good chance. Probably not. So I just am like, why try? Why try?
Well, pretty much as soon as I'm done with Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
Oh, yeah, you've been playing that. That's
right
fun.
now the current it's the very end of the month. So when this episode comes out, hopefully it will still be up. Jedi Fallen Order is one of the
Yes.
free PS Plus games, even for the lowliest PS Plus account holders.
It actually might not be. I think by the time this is
Oh,
out,
did
I
it
think
al-
it'll
is
be
it already
it'll
gonna
already
be
be out.
gone?
Yeah, but it's the January PS Plus game.
Yeah, it's the January PS Plus game. So when I'm done
Oh no,
with,
wait.
because they always stay around for a couple more days.
Yes, because it's the first Tuesday of the month, and the Tuesday is still the last day of January. So yeah, you will still have a few more days after this episode comes out.
There we
So
go.
go download it for
Yeah.
free, PS Plus subscribers.
So anyways, after I finish Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which I'm pretty close to,
Yeah.
I think I might circle back around and either finish Crash 4, It's About Time, or move on to Jedi Fallen Order and just test the waters.
Nice.
See what it's
Nice.
like.
I've
See
actually-
if it's interesting.
I think you could like it. I think there's a solid chance you could like it. It was a pretty fun game.
It looks fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with it. The combat's a lot of fun to get to learn. The story was really great. I liked all
like
the
the
characters.
tiny robot.
Yeah,
Cute.
BD1 is awesome.
Everybody likes it. Where's our little friend?
He's up on there with Cal. I want to get the Lego set of him.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
It's like $100 set. but
is it
it's
a
pretty
big
cool.
one?
It's like it's like
Oh,
he
it's
like
like
stands.
just the little
It's
robot,
just
but
the
it's
robot.
huge.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's very
Yeah,
cool.
That'd be fun.
That would be a really fun one. But while though it isn't Fallen Order, I have been playing a new Star Wars game for me though on the Switch, and it's an old one. It's like an old port of an old Star Wars game. Star Wars Star Wars Jedi Academy is what it is. So it's like Dark Forces 2.
Oh, that's
I
right.
think something like that. But anyway, I bought it a long time ago for my Mac, but then like just never got around to playing it. Then I saw it, then it was on sale for like $5 on the Switch. I was like, sure, let's do this, and I've been playing it. It's a lot of fun.
Nice.
So a good throwback game. Nice to try out an old classic. So but it's been a fun time playing that. But that's neither here nor there because that's not what we're here to talk about today. The game that I am here to give a first impressions / review, probably really more review. I feel like I don't know. I feel like I need a little bit more time in it before I can officially say like definitively. I do like the game, I will say. But the game in question is Humankind.
So I'm not gonna lie, the name sounds vaguely familiar.
Okay.
Truly, I couldn't tell you what genre it is. What does it look like?
Yeah.
What's it about? Based on the name, is it about Zambos?
Zambos, no.
Damn. Okay, I was just thinking like humankind. Well, what's the opposite of humans? Zombies.
Oh, I was trying to think. I thought you meant the thing that cleans ice on hockey rinks.
No, not Zambonis. Zombies.
I was like, what? And then you said zombies. Okay, that makes so much more sense.
No, zombies.
But
Wait, so was I right after all?
no, it has
It's
nothing
not
to do with zombies.
Zambonis?
Who knows? Maybe there's a mod that allows for zombies. I don't know. But no, Humankind is actually a turn-based strategy game, a la Civilization. So it's actually a PC game that I've
my
been
God,
playing.
Jerrett,
and
what
here
are
to
you
talk about
doing?
a non-console game.
Good
Gasp,
Lord.
clutch my pearls.
I'm
But-
clutching them.
But Humankind, I had been kind of looking for another strategy game to play because honestly, I was a little disappointed in how much Age of Empires 4 didn't click with me at the end of 2021? I think whenever Age of Empires 4 came out. Around that time, I was excited for it, and I was like, hell yeah, let's get another strategy game in the mix. I've been playing Civ. I constantly still play Civ. If you've keeping up in the Discord, Civ for like the third year in a row has been my most played game on the Switch with a couple hundred hours every year. So I put a lot of time into Civilization still. But I had been kind of being like, I want to branch out. I want to try something else, and decided that Humankind was probably going to be the way to go. Like I said, Age of Empires 4, I wanted to try it. It just didn't really click as much with me as much as I thought it would. I think, honestly, it is kind of the real-time strategy aspect of it gets a little overwhelming, that I'm like, I'm trying to farm my food and train troops, but I'm also being attacked, so I need to only focus on military. But now I'm behind. You know, it's like
I understand.
all that kind of stuff like starts to get a little much and kind of hard to be like, oh man, I need to.
Games like StarCraft.
Yeah,
hard pass.
Like I love StarCraft. I love the look, the aesthetic, and the feel of it.
But the
music of it. But just like there's no way in hell I'm going to become good enough to like play it multiplayer. Good God, no.
The level of overwhelm that I feel just like seeing it happen, it's like, no.
Especially when you see that Zerg swarm come in, you're just like,
guess I'll die.
Guess I'll die. Exactly. So, you know, that aspect didn't really stick out to me that much. So I was kind of like, you know what? No, I'll try out Humankind. I've heard it has a lot of similarities to Civ. I feel like it could be the one that kind of like is the break from Civ, that's like still in the same realm, but brings me some new things while I wait for the eventual announcement of Civ 7. Fingers crossed that day comes soon. But anyway, I have to say though, I am happy to say that the game does hold up very well and is a fun, like a side game to have with Civilization and everything like that. But let me talk about what actually happens in Humankind. To start off with, Humankind was developed by Amplitude Studios and was published by Sega.
Oh,
it was
wow,
released
really?
on. Yeah, I know. I kind of read that. And I was like, oh wow,
that feels weird and wrong.
Right? It was released on October 21st, 2020 for PC. Although they are in the works and have announced that there will be other console ports coming out later for Xbox, PlayStation, all that jazz. So, like I said, though, it's a turn-based strategy game where you lead your people through changing eras and cultures to become the greatest empire in the world. So, it does start off with this standard. Here's a map. You can't see hardly any of it. You got to go explore it. You start off with a group as just a group of scouts, and you eventually have to like go around. And this is where one of the big differences of Civilization is. Civ, you start off with a settler and a warrior, like in Civ 6 that I'm talking about for the comparison. And you eventually, and it's like key to found that first city very quickly.
Oh, okay.
Because you don't. Because, you know, that's how you immediately start to get your resources and start growing your empire and all that stuff. So, Humankind does it differently. Oh, man, that's going to be really hard to keep track of which game I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Humankind does it differently, though, where in the very first age, the Neolithic age, you start off as like a hunting party. And you don't found a city for several turns. You don't found an outpost for several turns because you actually are going to have to go around and make these discoveries of food, science, and influence that you find throughout the map. And they're just little like random things that will pop up. So you just have to run around. There'll be like some animals you have to hunt, stuff like that. So there is a little bit more of that like live resource gathering that you get from the real-time strategy, the Age of Empires games. But whereas, you know, Civ, there's just like, here's a tile that has deer on it. And you like continually farm or like build a camp on that resource to gain its resources.
It's a little bit more board gamey, for lack of a better word.
No, that's a really great way to describe it. Because it is still like a hex-based tile system that you move on and different things like that. So yeah, but a little bit more alive because like the deer will move. You have to chase it. You know, you have to fight it and stuff like that to hunt it and collect its resources.
I'm sure that this isn't how it works, but in my head, what you're describing, the hunting of animals in semi-real time, I'm just thinking of like shooting at bears from the Oregon Trail. Does it like enter into a little mini game where you just like have to line up the sights and then get them?
Actually, kind of.
Yes.
But in a slightly different way. And so it's actually really fun. And one of the big departures, I'll go ahead and talk about it now since we're bringing it up, is that one of the big departures is how combat is handled in Humankind between Civilization. In Civilization, it is you have a unit, you will attack that unit, and based on the various modifiers and things like that, they will roll, you know, RNG magic determines victor and all that stuff.
Gotcha.
In Humankind, you can group units together into form like armies. So you can have like a group of 5 units stacked together, but they don't have to be the same unit. It can be like a horseman with an archer with a swordsman, and they travel as one in one group. When you interact with another enemy or say a deer that you want to fight, you have the option to battle in either doing an instant resolution battle, so the computer AI RNG magic does its thing.
Gotcha.
Or you could do manual battles where you get to deploy your troops based on like geographic advantages, like put your archers up on a hill, your swordsmen to the front, and your cavalry in the back, that kind of action.
Nice.
So then when you fight, you get to like do your attacks and everything and choose which units attack which unit.
That's
Because
pretty cool.
It is really cool.
Yeah.
With the ultimate goal of either killing all their troops, like if you were hunting a deer, or an opposing army will have a camp that has a flag, and if you can keep one of your units on their flag for like a turn, then you win.
Awesome.
And stuff like that. But it's really cool too because like some of these battles can be huge because like at the end of one of the games I was playing, you can have like 6+ units in an army group. So like it can be pretty substantial, and other units can be added in later turns.
Oh, wow.
As they move closer.
Reinforcements.
It is.
Yeah.
Because the battles take turn. There are 3 rounds to a battle in each turn. And if the battle is not resolved in those 3 turns, it carries over to the next turn and continues until the battle is over. So it's a very fun way of doing combat that way, other than just the quick like one-off. Whereas in Civ, true, battles can last for several turns because like units may not necessarily be killed in one turn of fighting, but it's not to the same like depth in style of like the manually planning out and deploying your troops across the battlefield. So it's pretty cool that way.
These both of what you're describing remind me so much of just watching Bro Mogan play Civ obsessively over the Christmas break, but also taking breaks for Triangle Strategy. Because Triangle Strategy has more of that sort of geographic advantage to the turn-based combat, where placing your people on different like heights around the map or in different environmental things works to your favor. Versus Civ, which just kind of became a running joke between me and my mom, because every time you enter combat, that stupid little drum line plays. So just like that one little drum beat became like a meme in the household, because it's just like, wow, we would just love to not hear it anymore.
I'm glad to know that Bro Mogan is keeping up with this Civ obsession.
He's keeping it up.
That's awesome. But one of the other things that... So going back to kind of like how the game starts and how it's formatted and everything. So after you've kind of established those first few, you find those resources and things like that on the map and everything. You then do also, you have to like, part of those discoveries will gain you influence, which is basically akin to civilization's culture amount. Gotcha. But the influence that you gain after you get like 5 influence, then you can build an outpost, which means you can actually claim a territory. And so that's where this is a little bit different. And then after you accumulate a little bit more influence, or maybe advance into the first actual era, the classical or ancient era, I believe, then you can convert your first outpost into a city for free. And that's where the game kind of starts to really like branch out and starts to like get to really explore the different options. The thing about Humankind, though, and where it does share similarity with Civ, is that the end goal is to like either accumulate enough score or hit a certain victory condition where you are declared like the best empire of the land. Either A, there's no one else standing, scientific discoveries, or through like just plain old score. Yeah. And stuff like that. But where the major differences start with the 2 games is Civilization, you choose an empire, say, Britain, India, China, something like that, and you play as that empire for the entire game. This is where Humankind, I think, is pretty interesting. You start off in that Neolithic age, you're a huntsman, your tribe of just like hunter-gatherers trying to forage some supplies. When you finally make that move into an actual age, an era, you choose a culture, i.e. an empire. So like, but it's based on empires that were prominent in that actual time period of history, such as you're going to get like, I played in my first game as the Mycenaeans, an ancient like militaristic group. They're also like the Hittites, Assyrians, all these like more ancient cultures like that. Then, so the
Atlanteans?
That would be really cool.
That would be so cool.
There might.
Can't wait for that Atlantis expansion.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
That would be awesome.
There are a lot of mod packs for Humankind that I haven't explored yet, but that would be really cool if there was one of those.
Do they have like the ancient Aztec and the Maya?
Like Aztec.
Cool.
The game that I just restarted, I'm the Olmecs. I started as the Olmecs.
Wow.
So
what a niche choice.
I know, but it's really cool because each culture has like different bonuses and stuff based on what type of culture. Like the Mycenaeans, I was wanting to like start off as like playing a more military based game, just because that seems easier to grasp that as a victory condition rather than all the other ones. Like as I was trying to learn everything else, so I started with the Mycenaeans. The game I'm doing now is like the Olmecs. They are more of like an expansionist, like growth culture based empire, so their bonuses are set more towards that.
Is your biggest cultural bonus for building those really big stone heads?
Yes, actually.
Incredible. Oh, 10 out of 10.
They get like plus 2 extra food if they're for
that
each
is
farm tile they're next to and stuff like
fantastic.
that. So, but the whole point is you advance through these ages by collecting era stars. And you do that by hitting certain achievements because there are 7 different categories that you can try to achieve these stars through. There's military, where you like a certain number of military units defeated. There's certain amount of money that you raised, influence that you gather, science that you discover, things like that. And when you collect 7 of these stars, you then have the option to advance to the next era and everything like that. But you can technically earn 21 stars because the winner of the game is determined by whoever has the highest fame score, which is what these era stars determine. Basically, is this all making sense?
Yeah.
I know there's a lot to this going.
I mean, it just sounds like you go through different eras of time.
Right.
And depending on how well you do during that era, you either earn stars or you don't.
Exactly.
And then at the end of the game, the amount of stars that you have from your collective time periods is what determines you winning or losing.
Boom. Perfect.
I play a lot of board games, though. Keep in mind, I'm
I know. I'm also
with
thinking that I'm not only explaining this to you, I'm explaining it to the
Of
masses.
course, yes.
Like
The
that. So just want to make sure,
smooth-brain
as long as
masses.
you're out, you're understanding it too. I feel like we're doing good. I just want to make sure I wasn't up
Yeah.
here and was like, what the fuck is he talking about?
No, I totally am.
So
on
anyway, you progress the eras in that way. But again, the other difference from Civilization here, when it's time to advance to a new era, you can choose a new culture. So you may have started as, say, the Mycenaeans in my case, advance to the next era, classical era, something like that, and then I'm going to be the Persians or something like that, or the Romans maybe when it gets to that part, the Ottomans when it gets to that, yeah. So and then once that happens, you then take on that culture's unique traits
That's really
and abilities.
cool.
It is cool because I like that reflects like the actual changing landscape of the earth and like just like what empires rose and fell throughout time.
Yeah, that's a really nice way to represent that.
Yeah, I think so too. You also have the chance, the option to just transcend the culture that you already chose.
You
and you get
become
like
ghosts.
you achieve you get like a percentage higher fame score each time you get a star or something like that. So there are some like bonuses to it as well. But it's really cool. Not only do you get the option to change, but the AI can as well. So like I've gone against somebody who started off as like the ancient Chinese, then they changed to the French, and now they're somebody else. I can't remember now. But so it's really cool that like all that gets to happen.
Can I ask a very basic question?
Sure.
So I've seen Civ in action, and at least on the Switch, graphics not super impressive. The little cutscenes are kind of nice between like the different world rulers. What is the visual look of Humankind? Like, is it pixelated?
No, it's very nice.
Oh,
It's
'cause
actually
in my head, I was like imagining one of those retro-styled pixel games. I don't know why.
no. This is actually a. It's like the map is actually one of the notes is like the high praises of it I have of this. The map is beautiful. Like the map is very well detailed and very well animated and stuff, and actually like has terrain features. Like the map of Civ, except for like a map, like when you see a hill, it's just like little bumps on the tile.
Yeah.
If you see a mountain, it's a mountain on a tile. This one has full on like plateaus and like valleys in the map and all
Very cool.
very textured, very kind of 3D, but still that top down look
Yeah.
that you're used to. So that to me is like one of the really big things that I like about it too. You can zoom out like an overarching like view to like see your different territories and things under your control.
like
Then
that.
can zoom in like very close and get very detailed. It's a very pretty map.
Nice.
The other thing I like about it is kind of, and where some differences to Civ are in city management and how you earn new territory. In Civ, the amount of culture that you earn will, after a certain amount of turns, expand your borders automatically. In Humankind, you first will claim a territory by founding an outpost that takes like 4 or so turns to build and become functioning. After you earn a certain amount of influence, you can turn that into a city, which then unlocks all the different districts and quarters like farms, markets, industry, different stuff like that. And everything that enhances the cities, you can start building those after you've converted it into a city.
Gotcha.
But you expand the territory by going to another territory space with another unit, settler, whatever, founding another outpost, which then you then annex that outpost to the city, because you can only have at a certain amount of time a set number of cities, like 4 to 5 like actual cities. The rest have to be these outposts that are annexed territories.
I see.
So it's really cool in that way. And so I'm still really kind of in, I would say, like learning the ins and outs of it. That's why I really can't necessarily say like, hey, this game is fantastic. I do have a lot of fun with it, and I have had a lot of fun with it. The only thing, and why I kind of am hesitant to say like, okay, you know, is this a Civ killer or something? Which, spoiler alert, it's not. Civ is still the
Were
king.
people saying that when Humankind was coming
I think they
out?
were kind of thinking it has the possibility. It like seemed like the
gotcha.
biggest contender is what I was like
see.
reading and seeing a lot of. And so that was part of what piqued my curiosity for it as well. It was like, ooh, maybe it is. Like, you know, I'm not opposed to
never
trying
know.
new things.
Yeah.
I'll try something out.
You
to
can
that,
only hear that stupid drum line so many times before you really need to move on.
I know. So, you know, I thought I would try it out. I don't think it has enough yet to quite overtake Civ in my mind, but I think there's a lot there. The one kind of thing that makes me think that is, in that first game that I was playing, where I was playing it as the Mycenaeans, I like somehow blazed through the era scores. Like I was getting everything, which made me feel like, oh, I'm doing this right. But then I got to the contemporary era, the final era, but I still only had medieval technologies. And I'm like, what?
You
What
somehow
happened?
didn't
Like I
advance your
completely
civilization enough.
outpaced the game. But like so was the rest of the world. Like it wasn't
Weird.
like I was behind. Like I was like I'm technically the winner of that game because I was like so far ahead and everything like that. And I'm in the contemporary, but because it was so far away and like some of the conditions for the end stuff, it was basically like it said the game will end in like infinity turns because it was like you have to still meet the ends, which means like you have to still research all the technologies to like activate the science one, or you have to kill everybody in the game. And I was like, okay, but like I've pretty much already done that too. So it was like I
Weird.
didn't quite hit the end of the game, but I was also like, I don't just want to sit here and just do the same thing, just like trying to run out the clock.
Yeah.
So I restarted a game playing as the Olmecs, where I upped the difficulty of the game a little bit, went a couple stages higher on that, try to see if that like helps round it out a little bit more, and try again. If that kind of becomes the standard though, like that's where I mean it's like I need a little bit more time before I can
You need to
definitively
find out if it's-
say like how balanced the game goes
Yeah.
throughout the whole thing, because that was a little out of balance.
Yeah, pacing imbalances is really detrimental to a game. Obviously, both of us felt that way about Cult of the Lamb.
Right.
So it's definitely a theme that I hope the game smooths out on its own because the Olmecs rule. I want to be the Olmecs.
Yeah, it's
yes.
really, really cool.
Also, can I take a hot second to air my one petty grievance about Civ from a spectator's perspective?
Mm-hmm.
So I've never played a Civilization game. Turn-based strategy is sometimes something I enjoy, but Civ has just never piqued my interest.
Sure.
But now, having watched Bro Mogan play so very much of it, my one major complaint is that the soundtrack never feels like it matches the gameplay. Like the
because
soundtrack
it's a blend
will
of
just,
all
yeah,
of like all
it'll
kind of
just
like cultures and
randomly
eras and
ebb
stuff
and
like that.
flow for no reason. So like nothing of import will be happening at the time, but the music is hitting this crescendo, and you're like, why?
Yeah.
It just made the whole tone feel very disconnected for me, and I was like, this is weird.
Since I actually play on Switch, and a lot of the time, like when we're watching stuff, I hardly ever actually have the sound on for
Yeah.
Civ. I do like the soundtrack of Civ, but I do agree it is kind of weird when you're like, yeah, just kind of chilling, and it's got this like huge sweeping orchestral score going on. You're like, whoa, whoa, whoa!
You're
I'm
like,
just
what's
like,
happening?
I'm just
yeah, I'm
farming
just
here.
chilling. Everybody back off.
So I get that. The Humankind soundtrack is good of what I've heard and listened to throughout playing. I've enjoyed it a lot there. The one last big thing that I will touch on that is like kind of the big, because a lot of things like the city management, that's kind of standard-ish. You know, you plan out your districts to get the best yields, blah, blah, blah. Technologies you discover, unlock new things you could build. Military, we kind of talked about that and how that all works. The one last area is kind of like the diplomacy of it. I think Civilization still overall allows for a more granular diplomatic experience where like you can literally be like, I will give you 5 gold for this thing, and then we're gonna do, you know, but then that's too much, so I'm gonna throw in, I need you to throw in this relic, this like religious
Very
relic.
Monopoly.
Yeah, it's like very like much handling the individual pieces. Humankind is a little bit more of an overarching thing where it is kind of like you have like these very basic proposals, and you can just be like, trade only luxuries, and then that opens up where you could just buy really quickly other luxury things from other empires. Like you don't have to build trade units or like a trader unit that goes to another place to set up a trade route like you do in Civilization. You just like buy it, and then the trade route is established.
Gotcha.
So that is a little bit there. I do like the relationship management of Humankind with the other empires over Civ, where in that it's so much easier And I feel like it's easier to actually like put your foot in the ground and say, no, I don't like what you're doing in this game than it is in Civ. In Civ, like,
In what way?
For example, I can go up in Civ and settle a city that my opponent is like, hey, bro, you're too close. And they can tell me that. They're like, hey, you're too close. Don't settle so close to us. And you can say, sorry about that. I won't settle cities so close to you again for like 30 turns. And that gives you a diplomatic bonus. In Humankind, but then if they do that to you, there is not a way in Civilization for you to say to them, you settled too close, back off, kind of thing.
Right.
Or if they do, well, wait, take that back. That might be wrong. There might still be a way to do that. But I feel like it's never, they're just kind of like, fuck you gonna do about it? Like every single time.
Well, I don't obviously know the mechanics of it, but I remember Bro Mogan saying something about like you can be on pretty good terms with another civilization, but they might just suddenly surprise war you, and you're like, well, fuck, I don't really have any recourse for this.
And I'm not ready, and there's no way to like really punish them. Exactly. Yeah, that kind of thing. I might be wrong about the not being able to say like, hey, don't settle near me, but I really I don't use them because every time I feel like I do demand it or try to demand something, I'm like, oh, the only thing that like it feels like is that it will slowly, after certain conditions are met, like unlock an option for a special kind of war that won't give you so many penalties. But in Humankind, say they settle in a territory that you wanted, you can literally go to that ruler, send them a thing that says like demand the restitution basically, and it can be in the term of like they have to pay you some insane amount of money, and if they refuse it, then that increases your war status, like your like war meter of like to increase the odds of like being like it's okay for you to go fight.
Yeah, gotcha.
You can also like say they take over a territory that you wanted, you're high enough like in the food chain of being like, I'm the big dog here, I want that place actually, why don't you just go ahead and give that to me? They can like surrender the outpost to you.
Ooh,
so it's kind of like really a little bit more fun in that way with like the diplomacy feels like you could actually like fight back through diplomacy.
It doesn't feel like they hold all the cards.
Yes.
Or that it's just RNG. And
exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
So I like that little bit about it with the diplomacy. So overall, I am having a lot of fun with Humankind. It has been fun because it is a nice, especially with like how I talked about with the combat, a nice blend, I feel like, of Age of Empires and Civilization, which I am really appreciating. Like I said, though, I need a little bit more time before I can officially like say like, here's how it stacks against Civ, because right now Civ is still up there.
Yeah.
I need to get a few more games of it under my belt, see how it goes, especially in the later games and stuff like that. But for now, it is a very fun and a very solid turn-based strategy game option out there for people to try.
In terms of time commitment, how long would you say the average round or like a full game of Humankind takes in comparison to Civ? Because Civ seems like they
Civ
could
can take a
maybe,
long time.
Yeah.
And again, that is based all on the skill of the player. You know, like how fast you can make things happen.
So like you're an advanced player. How long would you say
I'm an advanced player, but I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a great player.
So then, I mean, I feel like that puts you pretty solidly in the middle ground.
Like the middle
so
ground.
how long does a Civ game take you in most cases?
That's a good question.
Maybe like 10 to 15 hours?
Yeah, maybe something like that. I think like maybe close. Yeah,
like you might be able to knock
20.
out a round in a good weekend if you just sit there and like really knock it out.
Played it. Yeah,
gotcha.
You could do that.
And how about Humankind?
Humankind's, it feels about on par. I felt like, again, like when I was really rushing through the eras, I was like, oh man, this is really quick, because I thought you hit that final era and the game's over, and I was like, man, I'm doing really good. I'm playing it so well. And then I got to the final era and was like, wait, the game's not over and I'm only in the medieval era. I fucked up somewhere. So like I'm still trying to figure out what I didn't quite do.
It does feel
right.
like that shouldn't have been something that you can do.
Right?
So I'm really interested to hear later on.
I'm assuming
how that
I just
sort
like
of
totally
resolves.
botched my science research. And
Maybe
I was just
so.
but then I was like, but then how was I able to expand so quickly in all these other areas?
Yeah.
I don't know. So I got to figure out that balance a little bit. So that's my only knock against it. But for the most part, it's a very fun game.
My last question that I want to just sort of know later on, I feel like you'll probably get a feel for this with more games, is whether or not choosing to not change civilizations and like stick with one for the whole time is a pro or a con, and whether that's kind of like playing on hard mode, like to be the Olmecs the entire game.
I think this one, since I did stick with the Mycenaeans in the first game that I was playing, I think I will switch it up with this game.
That'd be interesting.
So like right now I'm playing the Olmecs. I'll try to switch around to say something else, because maybe I do start, as I meet more people, want to be more militaristic and fight like a neighbor, because I actually in this initial like setup had a couple skirmishes with a neighboring empire, which is actually fun. You can do skirmishes against enemy units and it not count as an act of war, which is fun.
Nice.
And so I've been doing some skirmishes, so they're starting to kind of like push against my borders, and I'm like, hold up.
whoa, whoa.
Whoa.
Let's
Back
all
up,
hang on.
please. So might have to take some aggressive expansion tactics there. But for now, having a good time with it. Try it out if you're into Civ and games like that.
Is it also, so Civ's a full price game, right?
Yeah, it's Humankind, I think I bought it on a Black Friday, so it was kind of on sale. I think it's normally like 40 though.
Oh, so it's more like a
it's more like
mid-range
mid-range
budget.
price
Gotcha.
price range for the game and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a good time.
All right, awesome. Well, I assume that it's also available for Steam,
That's where I played it. Yes,
which means that you can probably just watch it for sales, and it'll probably go on sale.
That's
again
what I did because I was like, I want to try it,
multiple
but I was also because like I want to try. There's a couple of games in this like strategy realm that I want to try. It's I want to try Humankind. I also really want to try Crusader Kings, but I feel like that one is pretty beefy, so I'm a little
Crusader
nervous.
King sounds so much like a mobile game.
It really
That's
does.
the most mobile game
This
title
is
I've heard in
Crusader
a
Kings
while.
3, so like it's been out there for a while.
Oh well, yeah.
So I do want to try it, but it's kind of thing. It's like especially after I kind of got burned on Age of Empires. I was kind of like, I'm gonna wait and maybe like buy these on a sale.
So right now,
and
your
try 'em out.
personal ranking would be Civ, Humankind, and then Age of Empires.
Yeah, probably.
And where's Stronghold in there?
Ooh. See, they're different.
Yeah, I know they're different.
That one is more RTS though too, which I admit the overwhelm is still there in those games also. But Stronghold's a little different just because since it's more of like a castle sim builder rather than the Empire. But I'd put it around the Age of Empires level though.
Interesting.
For sure.
All right, good to know.
But yeah.
Well, very interesting sounding game.
It is.
Personally, I will never play it.
I knew it was probably
but
not
I'm
one,
sure
but it was
that
like
somebody, probably Bro Mogan's listening and going, that sounds pretty interesting.
cool. Yeah, so if you try it out, Bromogan, let me know. But yeah, so I thought I'd try that one out. But what is the
Solid impressions.
what's the game that you brought for us?
Well,
today?
I mean, I don't really have that much to say about it, which is why we were just kind of sitting on it as like maybe we'll talk about it.
Yeah,
maybe
because that went a little faster than I thought. Like I was writing out my notes, I was like, "Damn, there's a lot, and this is going to take a lot to explain how all this connects." But
Well, and also you did a full review of this game a few years
that's
ago.
true.
Yeah, I have been recently playing Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
Nice.
So it was on sale probably like right before, maybe it was Black Friday.
did you ever play the first one?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I played and finished the first one and
I couldn't remember
loved it.
that.
I think we did our final review of Ori and the Blind Forest together.
You're right.
Wow,
You're right.
you just don't remember.
I'm sorry.
Am I a joke to you?
That was also, to be fair, like
It was a
300
long time
episodes ago.
Yeah, it was a very long time ago. So we both loved Ori and the Blind Forest,
Yeah, great
even though
game.
at times it was rage-inducingly not necessarily difficult. There were just parts where it felt really bullshit.
Oh,
like
yeah.
a few of the enemies, like basic enemies, just really felt like
frogs?
Yeah. Oh my god, those fucking frogs. Hate
Or
those
whoever the ones that
frogs.
shoot the poison, like the
Different colored frog.
yeah, different color.
They were
frog.
all frogs.
all frog. Okay, all
Oops, all
terrible.
frogs. No, so we both loved Ori and the Blind Forest, but had some complaints about it. So, the soundtrack, Gareth
good.
Coker,
So good.
And then Ori and the Will of the Wisps. I don't know why I bothered to listen to people outside of my sphere, but I heard such middling reviews about it initially. Like on the one hand, you had the people going, "Oh, it's an incredible game. You know, if you like Ori and the Blind Forest, you're going to love it." But then I heard all of these other people kind of like with these little needling complaints about it.
Right.
And one of the biggest complaints that I kept hearing was that it was too long and that they added a bunch of unnecessary side quests that weren't really helping the game. And I was like, I don't know about that. So it honestly did kind of put me off playing the game. So I wish I had played it when you did, though, because we could have had a really good joint review about
Yeah.
it. Because I'm playing through it now, I think in percentage, I'm probably 75 to 80% done with the game.
Wow. You
I'm
are
really close.
achieving a much higher completion rate than I did.
I am almost to the will. The willow. Yeah. So I
Getting
think
close to those
I'm at the
wisps.
very. I actually have collected all the wisps.
Nice.
So I've got all the wisps. I think I'm on maybe the final quest. You don't have to tell me.
Okay.
I assume that the willow is sort of the final area.
Well,
of
I
the
had
game.
to remind myself where you were when the last update you gave me. So I
the
don't.
sandworm?
Yeah. So I'm kind of like, okay, I think I know where you're at.
Yeah,
It
gotcha.
has been a bit because I played it around launch, which
Yeah.
was like 2-ish years ago. Or
Well,
something
yeah,
like that.
I think it came out. Did it come out in 2020 or 2019?
I think it was 2020.
Okay,
I'll
gotcha.
verify.
Yeah, you can verify that.
Google
But anyway, so
verification.
the point being, I heard a bunch of stuff about the game that made me feel like, oh, maybe it's not going to be as good. And it's not expensive, but it's also not, a dirt cheap game because obviously it's well made. It's a quality product, even though it is an indie title. So I just didn't play it.
Sure.
And then I finally found it on sale and I was like, great, now's the time. I'm in a mild gaming lull over the holidays.
Right.
This seems like a good winter game, air quotes. I'm loving it.
It's a good game.
It's good.
Don't listen to the haters.
I feel so stupid. Like, we say this all the time. People said vampires sucked, and that game rules. So, like,
Absolutely.
why would I believe anybody else? So, the things about the number one thing that I've noticed about Ori and the Will of the Wisps is that the additional sort of, for lack of a better word, fluff content that they added to the game is so Hollow Knight. It is very hard to look at Will of the Wisps and not see how they were sort of directly responding to the insane hype that Hollow Knight got.
In which way? Because I don't think I really, when I was playing, because I know I played it on stream.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really mess around with a lot of the side activities because I was trying to focus more through getting through the story. So like, how do they compare to Hollow Knight?
I mean, specifically the addition of the more expansive shard system, that's like a 1-for-1 charm system.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
So the shards were the very first thing where I'm like, okay, well, this is sort of just like in Ori and the Blind Forest, you just sort of had this expanding tree, and you could either go for like raw power or magic ability,
Right.
or I think like sort of life and survivability, vitality, for lack of a better word. Whereas in Ori and the Blind Will of the Wisps, the system is very much like, well, yes, you get your standard power-ups through either finding vitality or mana shards around the map, or what do they call them? Life cells? Life cells and energy cells. I think it's just life and energy. You can either just find shards of those throughout the map, a la Legend of Zelda, piece them together, you get power-ups. Excellent. That's pretty standard, and that was also in the first Ori game. But then they added in this whole shard system. So you've got all of these sort of shiny little shards scattered around throughout the world, and I think you could maybe get them from like mainline quests too, that add this extra layer of either powering up certain abilities or giving you certain like risk and reward type thing. Like one of the shards might make you take more damage, but you deal 30% more damage.
Right.
That whole system just felt very Hollow Knight to me. The types of power-ups that it would give you and the way that you can combine them, I was like, oh, well, that's Hollow Knight. The other thing is Lupo, the map maker, who you find throughout the world to make the maps for you. That's Cornifer. I was like, rip off.
I remember in my review when I was playing it, I was immediately like, hey, this is the guy from Hollow Knight. I do remember that one.
So the Lupo thing was like where I went over the edge. I was like, they are stealing Hollow Knight.
I like Lupo though because his voice is he's like, oh, Baba Ganoush.
He is very cute. I do wonder, like, were they thinking, man, we all love Dr. Lupo so much. Let's name one of
That's
our game
exactly what I thought of too.
So just little things like that, and sort of the types of side quests that they added throughout the game, those just the overall package makes Will of the Wisps feel a lot more on like a sliding scale, similar to Hollow Knight than Blind Forest did.
Ah, okay.
But I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I have been really enjoying it. I'm the kind of person that loves stupid little filler side quests. That is my jam.
Right.
I play the Legend of Zelda games.
To completion.
Fetch quests are my bread and butter. So I've never minded that. And I also really find that there are specific things about Will of the Wisps that are greatly appealing to me. One specifically is I feel like the movement in Will of the Wisps was maybe tweaked just a little bit to make it feel less floaty. Like a lot of the times in Blind Forest, I felt like there was always sort of a lag, or it sort of felt like Ori was moving through mud, for lack of a better term. Will of the Wisps doesn't feel that way to me, and there are a lot of different movement elements that they added that feel semi-new in this game that weren't in the previous one, specifically for the sand area and a few other bonus areas around the map.
The sand,
the ability to like drill through sand and move really, really quickly and also have a dash in that area. Love that.
Yeah, that's new. That wasn't at all.
No,
there wasn't
it
that drilling in at all in Blind Forest.
So love that section. Really enjoyed the final sort of gauntlet run in the sand area against the sandworm.
So hard.
It was very hard, but it was super well done.
Right.
I also liked that it was another sort of gauntlet run as opposed to just the standard boss battles.
Well, and that's what,
which felt weird.
And that's what was different from Blind Forest.
Yes.
Blind Forest was only gauntlet runs.
Blind Forest had like final bosses that were exclusively gauntlet runs. But in Will of the Wisps, at least two of the main main sort of, actually 3, like the first 3 main
'cause
bosses you fight. There's
this is
the
a
wolf.
3-year-old game.
Yeah,
we can talk about
There's
this.
a big honking wolf that you don't kill. You just hurt it enough that it leaves you alone.
Right.
There's a big frog.
Quolok.
Quolok, my big frog man. Did love him. There's a big spider. Oh, yeah, that
I
big
hated
spider.
that.
That
That
spider
boss
fight
kicked my
fucking
ass.
sucked.
It's
Yeah,
so hard.
That was the hardest one. I actually struggled a lot with Quolok, though.
I did too.
I had a lot of trouble with Quolok and with the spider, but...
Because Quolok was the one you had to like launch the poison blasts and like hit him at
And
the
you
right.
were also partially in water.
So you had to like jump
yep.
up, shoot it, and then
Oh,
go
yeah.
back down.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was a real pain in the butt. But this is the other thing that I wanted to point out from a movement perspective I really enjoyed. Every section in Ori that involves water, I think is so well done. Something about the swimming mechanic, they just freaking nailed it with Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
It's not quite like the old stuff of what you expected in like a Mario or a Donkey Kong, where you really feel
Hindered.
and you're supposed to feel
Yeah.
out of place and hindered. Yeah, where like you're trying to get away and it feels like you just can't move fast enough. You're slow.
Or the
all
movement is
reactions
really
are slow.
clunky and like the
Yeah.
camera doesn't turn at the right parts.
Exactly.
None of
Ori,
that's a problem.
it's like
here.
you're just like another place that you would just
Yeah.
thrive in. Kind of like when you eventually do get into the sand and you're burrowing around. They actually like behave fairly
They're
similarly.
which is why I liked both of those sections so much.
Yeah.
Luma Pools was still my favorite part of the game.
Pools is great.
I know that it's like the baby intro level for babies, but I loved the bouncy bubbles.
Yeah.
That was such a fun mechanic. So I think the overall, the thing that I'm really enjoying about Ori and the Will of the Wisps is that even though it sort of got Hollow Knightified, they still added enough new and fun mechanical elements to it, to the world and just to the gameplay in general, that I think it's turning out to be a really fun experience. Some of the bosses and smaller enemies are still total horse apples. That has not changed. But for the most part, I think it is, I would call it an improvement over Blind Forest.
I think so,
I
too.
think I'm enjoying it more.
How do you like the story as compared? Because I
Don't
still,
care.
I think the, I
Frankly,
know,
don't care.
I know that was a big thing for me with Blind Forest was, and why I loved it so much was how emotional and impactful the story was. I felt like for me that didn't quite connect as strongly with Will of the Wisps. It's still a very good story, and I'm excited to hear your thoughts on it once you do finish it up. But I think I do like the story of Blind Forest better.
Yeah. So without fully spoiling it, what I'll say is that you start out the game with your little owl companion. Coo. Yeah, Coo. It was in all of the promo materials. We all know that you start out with the owl. I feel like it would have been more emotional if you had more in-game time with Coo before things happen, and then you have to really go on your quest.
I was kind of
felt
surprised
like
by that
was
too.
very rushed.
I will say I did feel like Coo was supposed to be a bigger part.
I thought so too, and then
Yeah.
when that wound up to not be the case, I was frankly relieved because I was like, "Oh, thank God, don't have to worry about this little feller anymore."
Right.
But then on the other hand, it just didn't have that emotional impact. Also, what is with the Moon Studios' hatred for birds? they are racist against birds. Birds
the
are
crows and like
yeah, birds
Yeah.
are the #1 villains of Ori games, and it's like, why? Why do you hate birds?
they were showing the Alfred Hitchcock movie at way too young of an age.
They probably were. Scarred them for life. Oh boy, but as a personal bird enthusiast, that's the emotional part for me, the bird hatred.
You're sitting there with your cats every day as they're staring out at the window at
doing
birds.
their
just
cute
doing
little chirps. Oh my God, their cute little chirps. Cats. Anyways, so other than the blatant bird racism, I think it's a great game, and I think I'm probably going to finish it pretty quickly.
Nice.
I mean, I'll probably go home and play for a few hours tonight, and that might be enough to sort of send it over the edge and get me to finish. But I do want to 100% the game.
Ooh.
So we'll see how that goes.
That'll be interesting to see
Yeah.
because like I thought there might have been a chance for that, but then I looked at like what some of that was, or like getting all the achievements, and I was like,
really?
oh.
Well, since I'm
I guess
playing on
you're
the
on Switch.
there
There
are no
aren't achievements. That's true.
I
So
just
it's
want to
like
100% the game.
100%. Yeah.
Also, so this is just like a small little thing that I think makes me love Will of the Wisps. The Moki. They are delightful.
Oh, I forgot about the Moki.
The Moki are so cute.
Little like meerkat.
Yes, they just look like little lemurs almost, but with
thank you.
big ears. They're like a
Yeah.
mix between a lemur and a cat. And it is just they remind me of a lot of the little ferrets from Horizon. What are they called? Big honking ferrets. They're the most basic enemy.
Not the Watcher.
Not the Watchers.
Burrower.
The Burrowers,
Yes.
They remind me so much of those things, and that's my favorite creature from Horizon. So I love the Moki. I love that they're kind of stupid.
Yeah.
And that they like need somebody to watch over them, or they're too stupid to survive on their own.
Protect us,
Yes,
oh overlords.
It's like, okay, I will. I
Yeah.
like you. I think you're cute. So I think that all of the side characters that they added are actually really cute and fun, and I don't mind any of the extra content, and I think it's a really good game. So
Nice.
if you were on the fence about Will o' the Wisps, because you also heard some middling reviews, throw those out the door. It's a great game. Give it a
is.
shot.
I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
Also fun with Will o' the Wisp. The soundtrack also continues to be fantastic, but there's a special piano-only version of the whole soundtrack that Gareth Coker released.
That's right.
So
I remember you
have
telling
to
me about
check that
that.
out at some point too.
Man, the soundtrack in maybe it's just because it's been a while since I listened to Blind Forest soundtrack. Will o' the Wisps OST is excellent.
It's gold. It's gold.
Every single track in every distinct region has been so fun. Lumapools especially is just so relaxing. I loved every track that played there. The sand area had a very fun flair to it. And the other thing that made me really think of Hollow Knight, the whole area with the spiders. That was just the where you go like down into the dark depths and everything's really difficult.
Yes.
That's just that is like a
yeah, of course.
Yeah, that is a 1-for-1 to that one section of Hollow Knight. So I was like, cheaters, plagiarism. Not obviously, but it just really smacked of Hollow Knight. But that is neither here nor there. Hollow Knight's a great game, and so is Ori and the Will of the Wisps. So give it a shot.
Play 'em
Super
both.
fun. Yeah, play them both.
Nice. Very cool. Well, yeah, I really enjoyed Will o' the Wisps as well. Thought it was a very fun game. Would love to hear everyone else's opinions of it as well. If you've played those games, if you've played Humankind, if you've played Ori and the Will of the Wisps, let us know.
Yeah.
We would love to hear from you.
And if you didn't like Will o' the Wisps, tell me why, because I'm genuinely curious. I would just like to know more about the people that didn't enjoy it very much.
I thought you were gonna do that like the Talladega Nights thing from the bloopers at the end. Well, if you don't chew Big Red, then fuck you. And if you didn't like Ori and the Will of the Wisps, fuck you.
No. I just really want to know.
We are genuinely curious. We love to hear any and all feedback or opinions that people have on video games because, hey, they're great. And we love to talk about them. The ones we love, the ones we hate, and everything in between. Yeah. So, but that pretty much wraps up this episode of Team Chat Podcast, everybody. But until next time, I'm one of your hosts, Jerrett Wilson, joined by my co-host Rachel Mogan.
Adios.
We will see you